TGIF Warriors. How's everyone doing this morning? Hope everyone had a decent week. Richard, excuse me, Bran. It has been a little crazy. So it'll all make sense. The pieces of the puzzles will begin to fit. If you feel that way, you just observe until something is so compelling you can't stop yourself from trading it. Hi, Blake, Kman, Glenn, Hugo, AJ, Ingmar, Mike. AJ's taking Netflix off the longs. Hi, Galaxy, Marcus, Saloom, how are you, buddy? Okay, so I thought I'd start off with K-Man. Ryan's out, not feeling good. We're in this, we're in this season of upper respiratory infections, so it's not funny. So yen backed off a little bit, K-Man. I'm beginning to scale it, just putting a piece on, knowing that I'm early, and we'll add next week. Am I crazy?
We're all crazy, Dale. But that's a given. But I was wondering. Well, I mean, I was expecting this move to 150, right?
Yeah, you were.
Now we have seen quite a few of the Japanese officials come online today, so I think that should keep the market on its toes. Now, are they going to come in? That's another question. There are decent levels coming up. 50% of the 162 down to 140 comes in at around 150.80. Then we have the big 152 coming. The market is seemingly still. I'm not going to say that the carry trade is back, but people are putting their money to work, and I guess Mrs. Watanabe's sons and nephews are doing the same thing. When you look at the yen crosses, they are following suit as well. Aussie yen, sterling yen, and stuff, for instance, are all trading a bit higher. So for as long as they don't come in harder, I think the market could perhaps push a little more. But after those comments, I would still be a bit, cautious, because they could not let the market derail what they have been doing, and actually show up. We had as well Mimura as the cabinet secretary, as Ueda via Yoshida commenting, and they were all commenting on the one-sided moves of the yen, and being watching it with a high sense of urgency. So I would be careful. Now, am I counter trading it? I am not so sure right here yet, but come anywhere between that 150.80, 152, I might give it a try. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 52 is a big level.
Huge. It could also be. It could also be the right-hand shoulder of a headed shoulder.
Right. So
Right there.
I think our community it shows up, I think, better on the weekly.
Even the daily, I've got it. Yeah.
So, well, this is a 10-year.
Big level, very big level on that 152.
There it is. Yeah. So that's what K-Man's take a screenshot. So, symmetry would take it to 52. It'd be more bearish if it didn't get to 52. Anyway, I'm kind of thinking we get anywhere in here, get a pullback and then another run. But, that's what
and what's
I'm
also interesting is that around that 50% retracement, there comes in the daily cloud top. So it's all happening in the zone not too far from here, and of course we need to take into account the volatility of the yen as well. But there's a lot happening between, let's say, 150 and a half and 152. There's a lot happening.
Okay. Any comment on cable or euro?
Yeah, better retail sales. I think as well, market running perhaps a short sterling. I'm not sure, but at least went out of longs and perhaps now forced to buy a few sterling back. Now there is one interesting thing is that we did a fresh low on the euro sterling, but we held bang on a trend line support. If you, yeah,
And look at the divergence. Look
the
at the
June,
divergence.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you just keep it on
Well,
there, keep it on there. If you draw a line from the June low over the September October low, we are right there. We tagged it to the pip. And that may be interesting as well, because we saw buyers of that level, that one. Right there it held, right where it had to.
yeah, good eye.
And that's another interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know why that keeps popping up, but yeah, and look at this compared to where it was
Mm,
in September.
mm,
So you're getting some nice divergence.
yeah,
That's a daily, you know. Let's look at something 4 hour. 4 hour did too.
yeah.
It kind of looks like, I'm glad you brought my attention to it because it looks like a falling wedge, um, which is a
Mm.
reversal formation for something that's been going down. There's your wedge.
Yeah, could do. I mean, I'm in two minds right now, so I'm not trading a lot of sterling because versus the euro, if you look at the UK data, they are
Yeah.
stronger than European data. So, I
Okay.
mean, there is a reason for euro sterling to come down. Now, we are going to go into that budget, and that's really, I'm not sure whether the market is going to take any real positives from it. But
A labor budget is never good.
yeah, that for one. But yeah, I mean, this one is really they're trying to fill some gaps, but I don't. Well, I'm reluctant to buy more sterling strength as such, but I wouldn't rule out the euro sterling to go into the budget at very low levels.
That's a nice I like this formation. I mean,
Yeah,
the week, I don't know if it's going to reverse, but um, uh, there are
yeah,
some cycles due
yeah.
in this window in bonds. So, we'll see what happens. The 10 years just up a little bit, but so far a lower high
But you
than what
always
we
have
had.
to just to finish on that. You always have to be mindful. There's two currencies in a currency pair, right? So you
Yeah.
can be like a bit bearish on sterling or trying to catch a knife on the euro sterling, but then your euro should start to print better data, in my opinion.
I think they're
Okay.
all set up. Look where the Dixie stopped um,
Mm,
on the daily.
yeah.
I think, first of all, I underestimated the strength. I didn't think we'd get up to 380, right? But look at those, you have your 200-day right there.
And
So,
again, is it Dixie strength? Well, yes, it is Dixie strength if you look at stuff
yeah,
like dollar yen as well. But if you only look at the euro dollar, which is over 50% of the Dixie, I think it has a lot to do with euro weakness as well, right?
okay. Um, why don't we cover risk with
Oh,
should we? I mean,
yeah.
was
Where's risk? I mean, the only expression of risk these days is gold.
well, you know what? B of A came out yesterday, which is kind of like a broker coming out or, a bank coming out with a recommendation. And they said that gold is the only safe haven left because
Hmm.
of the huge debt problem in treasuries. So gold is Bank of America coming out after $1,000 rally and saying it's the only safe haven.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, but
that
hmm,
got a lot
we've
of
been
play.
talking. Yeah, we've been talking about that a lot earlier, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
silver, uh, may as well bring Stel into silver. Uh, any concerns at all with gold making successive higher highs and silver lagging still?
Well, it's a good question. And the pattern over the years on metals rallies that gold leads the way and then silver catches up. So I think we're still in that that's this situation again. I do think it's going to catch up. Having said that, I had got long a little position, what was it, 6 or 7 trading days ago, 30,
Yeah, right
65.
here. Yeah,
Yep, I had the pip as well, and I just got out of it this morning. Um,
nice
obviously the
pip,
big, sorry?
nice pip.
Yeah, it worked out well. I mean, it's always good when you get to the timing right,
Yeah,
but uh, the clear resistance again now is 32.70 something now. So it's trying to take out these highs, but it keeps getting slammed. Eventually it will. But for now, I'm just keeping my core long positions, and this one that I had from a few days ago, I just closed it today, and people who are in the chat room will know that. Um, it's a tough one. What Bank of America are saying about gold. Well, that's
it's
been the
true.
case for.
Yeah.
It's true. It's been the case for decades. So I don't see why the fuss about it. Of course, it's not often you see a big bank saying it. They're usually the other way around. But
Yeah, they would
it's worth.
also say that stocks are a good inflation hedge, and
Yeah.
you
Which
know
they are, right? The
that.
index
Yeah,
is as well. So, when a big bank like that comes out and says something like this, or when you get a Barron's headline or something like that, you usually want to close your position. So,
okay,
for me, though, what I'm looking at the moment is still the dollar, and the dollar seems to be the cleanest shirt in a dirty laundry. I don't know how you call the expression, but what I find a little bit annoying and also worrying is that the data that we get from the US, um, it comes out, we've got some good, strong data and employment. Now we got retail sales and at least dirty shirt. Thank you. Thank you. Um,
yeah,
but you get these adjustments afterwards. And look at the retail sales number from yesterday. It was a beat. And then you look at the details and it had this single biggest seasonal adjustment in history.
okay,
And when you see things like that, it kind of makes you go, especially when you're 3 weeks away from the elections. And I really don't like that. I want the numbers to be, proper and representative, and I don't want them to be revised in a huge way like NFPs were a few weeks ago. But then again, I'm asking for a lot. But anyway, in this occasion, the US data seems to be better than expected and definitely better than expected compared to Eurozone. And yes, we had the UK retail sales that beat today, but again, the Eurozone and the UK, they've been dovish. And you could say that out of those three majors, the dollar is the one to have. But with what's been happening, shouldn't the dollar be a lot stronger? That's what worries me. If I was a dollar bull, yes, we've bounced from, the low hundreds in the Dixie to 103.60 odd. But, you would think that it should have been a lot higher. So, I'm a little bit worried. I still think that the dollar will on in the next move is going to be that it resolves to the downside. But then I think the dollar eventually is going to have a massive rally. I don't know what's going to be the driver. I don't know how it's going to be, how it's going to turn out. But that will be the
Elections.
time. Sorry?
The elections.
Yeah, maybe. But
okay,
I think it's coming eventually. So there will be a time when I'm very, very bullish on dollar. I'm not at the moment.
okay. Uh, Looking at Canada, it's one of the few pairs that made, euro didn't make a higher low; it just bottomed, right? Cable didn't make a higher low; it just bottomed. Aussie kind of did, all right, but Canada, after the data this week where we had that reversal day, so far is making a lower high. What do you think, Blake? Is there is there a decent trade to be short USD CAD
You know,
stops over the high?
there is. And good morning,
Good
everybody.
morning, buddy.
Yeah, good morning. It was actually I'm sorry, I'm just updating the euro sterling really quick, just a intraday chart for ForexAnalytix subscribers. I'll show you guys what I'm pushing out here in just 1 second. I'll take over. But the hold on. There we go. Okay, it's pushed. Yes, I actually was drawing this morning that we might actually be building a, some sort of bull flag pattern. That's what I think is happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been looking for a move
Down
back
to
down
here.
to like, yeah, the 137.20 is like, it just, you can actually see that spike low following the jobs report. That's that red
Yeah.
candle, right? Nope, that's the inflation. Keep going left. Nope. Yep, there you go. That big, no, keep going. 3 more candles. Yeah, that big move there was the jobs report last Friday. And so that low coincides with the previous high breakout point from like, 6-7 candles over to the left. That's at 137.20. So if you actually draw like a flag, it looks like we'll probably revisit that level. And, that's probably gonna be a level that I'm looking to, be on the long side if we can get there. And, I don't even know if we'll get there. Who knows? That you see all these headlines with the happening in the Middle East. It could influence crude. Next thing you know, Canadians on the move, and it's hard to judge. So, but that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, you think Israel may retaliate over the weekend? That's kind of the way.
Yeah.
Gold. You think gold rallies into the retaliation and peaks on it?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, gold still looks at 2,800 is still the 261% extension of basically the 2020 to 2024 previous range, the 4-year range. I mean, so 2,800 seems pretty logical. And yeah, based on what's happening in the Middle East. Now, as far as like, would gold peak on that? I don't know. I wouldn't be short it. But the thing is you've got Netanyahu who says, we're not going to be, we want our hostages back. They're not going to have, they're not going to discuss peace. And then Hamas is just, all these headlines are coming out right now that they're like, the killing of their previous leaders just going to make us stronger. So it's like, now it's going to intensify, looks like, over the weekend. How much is that going to influence Iran? I don't know. It just doesn't look like things are getting any better.
Yeah, I just recall like the war you were in. Gold.
Somalia?
No, well, no.
Because it wasn't a war. It was more of a conflict. It was more of, yeah. But
okay. Well, anyway, Desert Storm, gold kept rallying. Bonds kept selling off. And as soon as hostilities started, that was a peak. And gold topped, crude topped. It's a little different situation here in bonds.
Yeah, and I was 18 years old and I was not paying attention to what gold was doing at that time. That was before my years in the market. And yes, I did actually enlist in the Marine Corps as an infantryman to go to Desert Storm. That's why I actually enlisted in high school.
And they sent you to Somalia.
Well, yeah, no. When I finished School of Infantry, 2 weeks before I finished School of Infantry, the ground war ended, and then they sent me to Guam. But I could have gone
on your holidays.
Yeah, I really was. It was like a year of holidays in the jungle. It was actually great, and I got to spend a lot of time on the beach. It's Japan's Hawaii. I mean, Guam's a beautiful place. I really enjoyed my time there. Yeah, Somalia not so much, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I had a buddy that was like, I just saw Black Hawk Down the other day, and I was thinking about you, and I'm like, it's a pretty that movie's a pretty good depiction of what it actually looks just like.
Intense, man.
There's just like the movie just show like the way it looks. That's how how it does look for sure.
Not like Scottsdale.
Nope. It's not like Scottsdale. Not at all. So let's discuss a couple of things, that I think's kind of important. We were just talking about, this is funny, and it's more of a cheeky joke. This is the ForexAnalytix chat room, but I was like, oh, great. Gavin posted yesterday, The Economist, cover. on the envy of the world is the dollar, right? That was the most recent cover for The Economist. And so we were discussing this yesterday about, well, here it goes. This is like the, top of the dollar, because, these magazine covers, they're pretty good from a sentiment standpoint, like just highlighting some, what could potentially happen. Well, it just so happens that the euro, bottomed, at least near term, after completing the double top. Now, is this going to be the bottom of the euro? And the euro, we get back to 112 and everybody starts talking about euro 120 again. I mean, I doubt it. I mean, we have so much work to do, the euro's probably near some pretty big support, and getting back to 110 will be a feat enough. And I don't even know how that's going to happen, frankly. But, other than, maybe some techs a little oversold. But then you have the dollar yen at 150. I know Kman was just talking a lot about, 150, and then, a lot of BOJ officials discussing, or talking about this rapid move in the yen and yada yada yada. And we've all been looking for a move up to 150, and eventual reversal from up at these levels. And there's a big head and shoulder pattern if we can get up there and everything else. But you start putting it all together, and then you have an election, then you have these twin deficits, and fiscal spending that's just going to go through the roof. And what happens if coming into the election, people just get a little worried, and maybe the dollar does come under pressure. I mean, everybody's looking around going, I don't care who gets elected, fiscal spending is just going to increase in the US, and maybe that becomes a negative for the world's reserve currency. I don't, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, not necessarily saying, oh, this is it, this is where the dollar peaks. But you do have some evidence that at least near term, the dollar could see some. This may have been the highs. The flip side is, though, you have the Trump trade, right? And one of the things that I think is really important this week is you see the dollar MEX. We are consolidating in what I think is like a bearish, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's early in the morning on a Friday. I think it's a bullish pennant that's developing. If you look at long-term in the dollar Mexican peso, we're at the 38% retracement of this entire move. A Trump presidency, probably talking, $21, $22. We've been discussing that for a long time. I mean, Mexican peso is going to be the ultimate, election night indicator. And if you're looking at FX, I think, the Mexican peso is you see the Mexican peso ripping. That means, we're moving lower. If we see the dollar MEX doing this, well, then the market's assuming there's a Harris win. Yeah. If you see the dollar Mexican peso doing this, election night, that means the market's assuming there's a Trump win. It's pretty simple. It's very black and white. It's the most, it's going to be the easiest look in the markets on election night in the FX market. Now, whether you decide to trade it or not is totally up to you. I'll probably be trading it, but it's more, it's going to be a nice, clean indication of how the market is feeling about who is ahead in the polls on election night, who the market thinks is going to win. And when there is a quote unquote victor, then this is going to be the mover, and again, everything else is going to fall in the line too, whether it's gold or the dollar as a whole, or whatnot. But I think we need to be watching the dollar Mexican peso, especially with Trump, what seems to be fairly clearly in the lead right now in polls. The dollar Mexican peso has spent all week really rallying into that. We start getting above 20, and then I think that's where the market's starting to really believe that there's not a lot stopping him as we go into the next couple of weeks. Now, I still think it's very, very close, especially when you're just a couple of points from error within a couple of points of margin. I still think it's a very, very close election. But if you look at some of the prediction markets, it does, clearly show that the market's leaning or people are leaning towards a Trump presidency. So anyway, just one of those Trump trades, can't say it fast enough. Trump trades that I think we should be paying attention to. Now, we have next week. I just wanted to mention that we're going into full-fledged earnings mode. If you look this morning and Dow futures are down quite substantially, you got American Express that's under pressure today. Earnings, I'm sure, it's down. Well, it was down 4%, but now it's only down like 3%. American Express is under pressure. You guys were talking about Netflix. Stock is actually looking pretty damn good this morning. Are we at all-time highs? I haven't looked. I guess we're almost at all-time highs in Netflix. So, there's a lot of big earnings next week. We've got Tesla. I think we got IBM. We've got trying to think right off the top of my head. I had a whole list, but I'll be putting together the week ahead video a little bit later this morning for next week, and I'll highlight all the stocks that I think are going to be big movers next week. But there's a lot of them. Caterpillar is going to be another big one. So anyway, just some things to think about as we go into next week. Kman, what are you looking for into next week? What's the big data point, economic data that you think would be a market mover, is going to be the market mover going into next week that you see?
In the next week, I think still going to be geopolitics dominating the picture. I must admit I haven't looked at in depth at next week's calendar, Blake.
I was just going to say, next week is PMI week. And we've seen U.S. data this week, obviously showcased with the strong retail sales, and yesterday's Philly Fed and unemployment claims were not horrible even after this, Milton or whatever. But next week we have like Eurozone and UK PMIs and US PMIs, and that's
almost the end of the week, right?
Yeah, I think that's on Thursday.
The start of the week will probably still be dominated by geopolitics and China. Chinese officials are now really trying to throw the kitchen sink at it. Because they're expecting more rate cuts, reserve requirement cuts. They're really trying to do something. And we see the Asian stock markets has rallied sharply because Xi supporting tech and stuff. So geopolitics as well, because they are going to be in Russia for the BRICS summit. So those are things that we're going to have to keep an eye on. What I would just like to say is like I'm now really keeping an eye on that oil, because it can't find a bit. It just cannot find a bit. I spoke about oil actually, about the longer term on the flow show if people are interested, especially on the fact it just can't hold big spikes. I think it's going to really, and therefore we will have to look at China as well if you trade oil now. If the investors start to buy the China revival at some stage, then your oil can probably rally more lastingly. But for as long as that doesn't happen, it doesn't seem that geopolitics are going to be able to really get it going above that 78-80 level at least.
If we have this, unless Israel really goes after Iranian energy. Unless that happens, it doesn't seem like geopolitics are affecting this. So this is going to end up being more of a growth story, I would assume, right? Is that it?
Yeah, I think if and when the market will buy the Chinese revival, which is not only depending on economic data, by the way, AJ, it's going to depend on geopolitics as well. And on elections in the US as well. But if or when the market will buy the Chinese revival, then we are going to start to look at stuff the other way around. And that's what I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Stelios, while you're here, and it's nice to have you here. Anything that you're? And by the way, we have economic data.
We have housing data. Yeah. Let's not forget we get durable goods orders next week, and also the Bank of Canada. But I think the story is going to be for the next 2-3 weeks is what's happening with the U.S. elections. because it's very close.
It is, right? I mean, this is like big. Okay, here's your data, by the way.
See,
Housing starts, building
one
permits a little
slight
worse than
bit
expected.
beats, one slight miss. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Meh.
No, but you know that housing is a big deal here in the US, and we haven't seen, we can talk about this, and I know, Dale, you have a new
Well, let me
person.
put out a calling Bill Henner. If you're here, raise your hand.
Okay.
I see a Bill Hines, not a Bill Henner.
Okay, so Bill, if you're here, let us know so we can promote you to one of the panelists. So talk about housing really quick. We haven't seen house prices really come down in most areas. I mean, there are certain hot spots, like, obviously if you live in Florida right now, everybody's like, I can't even get my house insured, so yeah, I'm going to sell that. But for most housing markets, major housing markets, even though houses aren't moving and people really haven't adjusted their prices much, we haven't seen much decline in housing prices as of yet. I still believe that will come, but while equities are higher, and you have maybe let's just call it the top half of America that owns homes and they've got portfolios, and they're not really too worried. I mean, I was out at a bar last night, seeing my very best friend who is going to be a grandfather, which I was just like, wait a second, we're 53 years old. You're going to be a grandfather. So anyway, we were having that conversation last night, but I was at a bar meeting him, and getting caught up with his life. And the bar was packed.
Packed? Yeah.
Like this is a Twin Peaks, or Four Peaks, no, Twin Peaks, which is, I mean, it was his choice, by the way. For those of you who live in the United States, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was packed last night, and I mean, people are spending. And until you start to see house prices come down, and until you start to see, stock markets come under pressure, you're still going to see spending probably pretty vigorously too. So these, the housing data is important because that's going to be kind of our lead, into what we should be really paying, closer attention to. But did Bill Henner come?
No.
No?
Bill Henner?
Bill?
Calling out Bill.
Calling Bill.
Yeah.
And
I don't see him.
Yes, Bran, at our age, being a grandparent was more of a surprise, not a planned situation. It was a surprise. That's why it happened to be at a bar last night. So anyway, looking at other yes, Phil, this is correct, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I know exactly what you're talking about too. Well, since we're waiting and see if Bill actually shows up, let's just talk about, here comes the euro. It's at highs of the session. How about this Aussie? Kman, are you still here? Yeah, you're still here. What do you think about this Aussie? I mean, we're coming out of, it's a wedge. We've been talking about it all week. It's come out of the wedge. It's holding the 50% retracement. You got China trying to do everything it can possibly do to support it. So, or support China. Is this going to be enough to get the Aussie back to 68 cents?
Yeah, I think Aussie is doing relatively well. And as you know, I'm not only looking at the dollar pairs, and on the cross side as well. It's doing all right. Especially versus its cousin Kiwi right now as well. Yeah, but I think Aussie is I wouldn't sell it right now. I'd rather if I see a dip, perhaps try to be a bit long Aussie just because of the relative strength perhaps versus others. So yeah, I'm not going to say we are trading 68 tonight in Aussie dollar, but it's possible that Aussie is holding relatively well. Yeah,
it's kind of, well, it's kind of been, this is the hang up with being long Aussies is you get long Aussies and then something happens in the Middle East where people get a little freaked out, and would this actually turn lower. That I think that's probably the hesitation with most people. It is with me. I don't know with you. So
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll get a rally to sell that too, Blake. That looks like that could put in a right shoulder 68.
I was just gonna say, Dale. Yep. I mean,
Kindred
the thing about the
spirits.
Aussie here is the risk I see in the Aussie as
There
a
you go.
whole.
That's exactly what it's going to do. Blake just laid out the roadmap in Aussie for you guys.
Maybe
It might.
if we can get back
I,
up there, I mean, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if you can get back
that's a
up
nice
to
roadmap.
68 cents, yeah,
Yeah.
it'd
All right.
be nice. And this is the other thing about the Aussie, and this is one issue I have with it longer term. This is the post-COVID lockdown highs. You had that. This is the I think that's a generational low. I what I mean by that is in the remainder of my career in trading FX, I'm not sure if I'll see that level again down at 55 cents. That was post-COVID lockdown. That's generational, probably like a 20-year low, roughly. And I throw that around very loosely, but if you take the descending trend line, we had a false breakout. So as a technician, you look at a false breakout usually leads us back to a breakdown. With everything that's happening with the upcoming election, with the risks that surround the markets when we're at all-time highs, if equities actually do come under pressure following the election, perhaps the Aussie falls a little bit. I could totally see this doing false breakout up here, leads to a breakdown down here, and next thing you know is we're testing some big support. And I'm looking, obviously into 2025 into something that looks like that. I mean, Dale, there's your roadmap going into
That
next
is. I like it.
year. Yeah,
I think you put it on autopilot.
yeah.
I
So
will
I don't see
I
it.
will actually disagree, but
Okay.
Oh,
because
please
I'm
disagree.
well,
Please.
I'm overall very bullish commodities. That's why I would disagree. And obviously, the Aussie is heavily driven by commodities. And if you look at the ratio between the S&P and let's say the most popular commodity ETF, DBC, do SPX 500 divide by DBC and look at the weekly chart, and you'll see
Yes.
we're at almost all-time highs. Anyway,
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, it's a contrarian trade. Yeah, commodities are relatively real cheap compared to what
Yes.
indexes have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's
Okay.
a long-term, here's Thomson Reuters commodity index chart. I mean, it looks like it's basing after a real big,
Yeah.
substantial
few
rally in
years,
commodities.
for
It does look
years.
bullish. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the Bloomberg. I think this is the Bloomberg.
Well, even the grains, which have been the pigs, excuse me, the weakness, even the grains are coming out of the hole now. And they've been one of the weakest groups in the commodity sector.
Well, hey, I guess we're gonna probably just wrap it up here. But I want to say again, thanks, Economist. If you guys are short euros and you're like, I have the damn euro coming up in my face, you can just thank the Economist magazine for that one. I think that's pretty much it. Unless you guys have anything else that you want to cover, I do want to mention, just really quick. The trader funding program. Remember, it's we have 2 more weeks. You get a 20% discount off the trader funding program for this month. And if you're new to the trader funding program, you get a one-on-one consultation with me. I'll kind of walk you through what you're going to get and the tools you have with ForexAnalytix, and then I'll give you some ideas on how I passed assessments in the past and kind of share with you some of my prop trading experiences. So if you want to learn more about that, make sure you go to the Trader Funding Program website, and you can get to it from the ForexAnalytix website. And also take a trial. It's $1 for 10 days for ForexAnalytix. Come join the community with us. If you want to come in and jump into our community and talk about, discuss all the things that we're, talking about for, all day long, and do it. Come join us. Dale, you have anything else?
Yeah, well, if you can't jump into the community, like in my age, you could stroll in there. Okay.
There you go.
And
look, how about a walker? Can you do a walker?
Not yet.
Thank God.
I'll admit something though, Blake. It was very difficult in the airport for me
Was it?
to get to the gates.
Oh God! And you were what? Where did you fly out of Midway?
No, I flew out of
O'Hare?
I flew into O'Hare.
Oh,
It's
okay.
miles away. I actually got a wheelchair.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh! Did you?
Yeah. So being able to do it and instead of struggling, like they say on a fighter, first the legs go. Anyway, I know a lot of people out there are I may be just projecting, nervous, concerned, anxious about everything that's going on. So I thought I'd wrap it with, something that is, a great song from even a generation before me. And I think Bing Crosby did it. So if you're worried and you can't sleep, just count your blessings instead of sheep, and you'll fall asleep counting your blessings. Count those, not just your
All right.
pips.
Bravo.
All right. So anyway, count those guys, and you won't be worried. All right, there you go, Mike. I'm a very good cure for insomnia, and I'm
Vegas
glad
is
Mike.
waiting for you.
Who is
Vegas, Las
Elvis?
Vegas, Dale, Las Vegas. Just
Oh
go.
yeah, I want to go. All right, have a great weekend, everybody. If it wasn't a great week, take a step. And, I've been around, guys. Blake used to talk about me being 500 years old. I've been around. It's the best team that not only is very good in the markets, effective in the markets, they really care about you being able to survive in this and help you prosper. And you're not just ever a number, you're part of the trading family. So join us, and, we'll take you into the fold. And that's a wrap, everyone. Have a great weekend. I don't know who you're rooting for Saturday or Sunday, but I hope they win. And Kman, you talk to Ryan, tell him we're all thinking about him. Hope he gets better soon. And want to thank you and Stel and Blake, the whole team, for doing their, giving 150% again this week, like always. So,
and thank you, Dale, for being the best coach out there.
That's
all
right.
Well, thank you, guys. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll do it all again for you, and we'll do our best to guide you through all the crap that's happening out there. Okay? That's a wrap. No more crap, and I'll see everyone Monday.
All right, Dale. Thank you.
See you
Thank you,
guys.
Dale.